Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. This is episode 97 and the penultimate weekend of Scottish Premiership action. We do have, fortunately, a midweek action to go through, which we will cover on Thursday. But I am joined by my usual co host, Alexander Cruikshanks, to go over almost everything that happened involving the Scottish Premiership and as well as probably the playoffs and the lower divisions. First of all, Alex, how are you doing? How was your weekend?
I was good, mate. Just mainly working. Out on Saturday for a bit, which I hadn't been in a wee while, so that was good. But yeah, thankfully I was working the whole duration of yesterday's match, so I didn't see any of it. Obviously, I've seen highlights and clips and the major talking points and that sort of thing. But yeah, just frustrating. A wee statistic actually before we dive into things. Um, Another record broken. This is the first time Rangers have lost three games on the trot for 26 years, I think, in the league. So, uh, yeah, another record being broken this season by this Rangers team for all their own reasons.
Yeah, and I think it's the first time probably I think I heard as well the first time that Rangers have lost the opening three matches of the split, which is not something I think anyone expected going into this, which makes the probably the pressure on Danny
Certainly
Rowe.
not me.
Of course, as we touched on last week, it probably makes the situation for Rangers and Danny Rowe all that much worse as we'll get onto. But yeah, starting the game, I just want to get your thoughts on a few of the lineup sort of decisions, especially from a Rangers point of view. There was obviously a few interesting calls that Danny Rowe made. He brought to Romans back in, and I think we've said on here that Romans has been a top player since he's came in, but to drop Dujon Sterling in favour of James Tavernier, is that one that maybe surprised you, or did you expect the
No,
captain to start?
not really, because Dujon Sterling hasn't been great in recent weeks. I think it's been maybe his poorest spell in a Rangers shirt. Obviously, he did score against Hearts, but you can score and still be poor. I thought he was particularly poor against Motherwell. Um, Although for some reason, I don't know if it was just the way where I was sitting. Nobody else seemed to think that. My dad seemed to think they were targeting Jayden Magoma. Um, and then obviously the next game, Tav comes in at right back, Sterling's moved to left back. But I thought Dujon had a terrible time against Motherwell. And to be honest, I wasn't really surprised when Tavernier came on. Um, he was much better in that right back position. Obviously, Dujon got moved over to left back, which also leads to the thinking that Magoma was the one at fault, but I didn't think so from where I was sitting. And yeah, that not really a surprising decision. However, what I think maybe is the big surprise, a man who we've barely seen this season, was Oliver Antman getting the nod. He's shown in flashes. He's a good player. Obviously, you don't get what was it like 17 assists in the Eredivisie without being decent, but he's been poor this campaign. He came in like a house on fire, and then under the tutelage of Russell Martin, he seemed to lose everything that made him special. He got injuries, and it's been a tough campaign for him. And yeah, it was definitely an interesting choice. And Ethan, you said you thought he was a passenger.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I'll get on to the point of Ant Man later and why I don't think Danny Rowe was wrong to start him because as we've seen, I don't think any of the Rangers right wingers have really or wingers apart from Mikey Muir are really sort of I don't know making Danny Rowe want to put them in the team. I think it's more a case of picking the one who's the least worse at the minute. So I don't think I had any problem with Ant-Man starting, but I think that the time he lasted was the problem. I thought that the midfield dynamic from Rangers as well was always going to be interesting, but it always was going to be when Nicholas Raskin wasn't going to be involved. I think the interesting selection, the one for Celtic, was that Luke McCowan started on that right wing, and yeah, that was a decision that I think Martin O'Neill will reflect on as a wrong one. And I think that's the perfect place to start talking about this game. Celtic start trying to dominate the ball in possession. Rangers applying pressure very high, and they obviously get the first goal of pressing. It comes eventually to Luke McCowan on the right hand side. He sort of trips initially under pressure from Emmanuel Fernandez, who just completely bodies him off the ball. McCowan wanted a foul, no foul for me. I think he then gave it to Yusuf Chermati, who made Dawson Trusty look silly, and that wasn't the only occasion he did so. Managed to get a shot off, a sort of toe poke, blocked well by Liam Scales, but then Mikey Miller on hand to score in his second consecutive appearance at Celtic Park. And yeah, that was a massive goal, of course, for Rangers at that point of view, and would really test Celtic's resolve to get back in the game, Alex.
Yeah. Obviously, this is sort of irrelevant, but I really hope Spurs stay up so we have a chance in hell of getting him again for another season. He's terrific, Mikey Moore. Obviously, this is a fairly simple finish, but if you think this is what he's like, having just turned 18, his first season out on loan, what could he be like the following campaign? So, yeah, just wanted to get that in there. But
yeah,
sorry, Ethan, what are you going to
no,
say?
on you go, Alex.
No, but definitely a good start from Rangers. Although I think it falls in the pattern of the Hearts game where they go in front, but they don't kick on. They don't put the boot on the neck. The attacking areas are still poor. I'm relying off a lot of what you've told me, Ethan, because I didn't see the game in whole. But you said you thought Rangers' main threat was from set pieces. And they didn't create much from open play in terms of clear cut chances, which has been the story of Rangers season. And that's maybe why we can't capitalise on things like this and kill the game off. Because if Rangers had got a second, I'm certain that they would have won this game. But that wasn't the case. They couldn't capitalise on it, and Celtic did show great resolve. They got back into the game fairly quickly.
Yeah, and I was saying about Luke McCowan there, why I felt it was a wrong decision. And of course, he does eventually get hooked to half time. But it was getting to the stage after 20 minutes where you're saying if he doesn't improve in the next 10 minutes, he's going to have to come off in the first half here, because you actually felt sorry for him, because just nothing was coming off for him at all. And then he plays probably the best pass of the match, a lovely reverse ball. I can't remember what Rangers player's legs it went through, and it went past another one. Poor defending, sorry, probably from Rangers. Good run from our Engels, and then he plays it across the 6 yard box. And Yang, who I thought had a really impressive performance as well, and really seems to be growing into the Celtic shirt, was there to finish it. I think there was a little bit of sort of contention and whether it was maybe an offside, a few players in front of Jack Butland, but that would be one that you wouldn't like to see get ruled offside. I don't think.
I hate that. I hate that rule anyway.
Yeah.
Obstructing the goalkeeper's sort of view or whatever. I don't really like that rule. I feel like obviously there's like factual basis in it, but I feel like it should only be ruled an offside if you're actually stopping them. If you're like stopping them from moving. I don't know. I've never liked that rule. I know it's irrational, but I just don't like it. And I know it's
No,
there.
I understand that.
I know it's there for a reason, but I think it's kind of stupid.
Do you think you would get if it wasn't a rule? Do you think you would get? Well, there wasn't players doing it before, so I don't imagine there would maybe be players doing it now. But with football's going, do you think you'd get a player sort of dedicated to blocking the goalkeeper's view and start jumps in front of him?
People kind of do that anyway, though, don't they?
Yeah,
From like set pieces and
corners. Yeah,
there's always someone trying to block the goalkeeper in view and movement. So
yeah, yeah. Not exactly, but obviously Celtic got back into the game. Rangers still did have chances from open play. Yusuf Chermiti had one actually before they scored, which showed Rangers' threat on the counter attack. But as I said, and as you touched on, they didn't really carry too much of a threat from open play. It was mostly set pieces. I remember Fernandez heading one wide, which I think was offside from a free kick. Nasser Giga had a chance as well, to remember a few. And then we have, and probably the most controversial decision of the match just before half time. Alistair Johnson makes a really strong and some people would say probably a good 10 years ago, maybe longer, that this was a great tackle. And he certainly takes the ball away from Mikey Moore, but I think he follows through and catches the young winger. And at the time, being at the game, watching it live, I thought Alistair Johnson was going to be sent off, but he wasn't. Since there's obviously been a lot of talk about it, not too much in comparison to previous incidents in this fixture, but yeah, I think he easily could have been sent off here, Alex.
I think he should have been. I mean, I think obviously, I think you just need to look to last week. It's not as bad a challenge as Jamie McGrath's, but it's very similar. You know, it's high. I guess you could go so far as to say he was out of control because he does get the ball, but the follow through, he's got no control over where he's going. And he catches Mikey Moore quite high on the ankle, just I don't know, above the ball. Would you say just above there? And the ball of the ankle, not the football.
Yeah, I got it. I got it. I think
Yeah,
we got it.
yeah. So I think it should have been a red card. And yeah, another controversial decision in an Old Firm match. It seems like we're getting one every single time. A lot of them, I know I sound really like bitter here and that, but a lot of them seem to be in favour of the side of Celtic in recent games. But I'm sure there was a spell where Rangers were getting loads as well. It's just the way it swings, I think sometimes. But yeah, it's or maybe because I'm a Rangers supporter, I'm only remembering the ones for Rangers. I'm sure Ethan's got a catalogue of decisions that could have gone Celtic's way, but didn't. So yeah, but I think this should have been a red card, and it's funny because it does make me sound bitter, but it's the thing I've been ranting about all campaign. I just want a bit of consistency.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And as I said on first viewing, I thought it was a red card, so that probably says that it probably should have been. But moving into the second half, Celtic obviously do make that change at half time. Luke McCowan replaced by Sebastian Tenetke, obviously an out and out winger who can sort of face up a defender, has the speed and sort of trickery to beat a man, unlike McCowan. And it was unfortunate for McCowan. It just wasn't his sort of game to come in. He has played in that role before, but you've seen the difference between even him and Yang. Every time McCowan got the ball, he's faced his own goal. Every time Yang got the ball, he's facing the Rangers goal. And Celtic started the second half and largely parts of the way they ended the first, dominating possession, and then they do eventually get the goal. I think it's Liam Scales who had an excellent game as well. Made a really good couple of blocks in the first half. He clips it in behind James Tavernier for Kieran Tierney, who was also excellent. One of his best games of the season, I would say. And James Tavernier puts his arm up, open for offside. I don't think he defends the cross well enough. I don't think the Rangers defenders and midfielders in the middle of the box track Daizen Maeda's movement well enough. It's great movement from Maeda, and he continues his excellent form with a nice finish to give Celtic the lead, but just poor defended all round from Rangers and probably easily avoidable from where the goal comes from, Alex.
Yeah, and that's been a theme. I wanted to actually touch on something for the first goal as well. See that sort of second wave that Yang sort of scores from? He's coming in after the players make the run. Rangers have struggled with that for years, defending those kind of balls. And then with this one, it's just, yeah, it's not very good from back to finish. Excellent movement from Daizen Maeda, getting in front of Fernandez, but Fernandez not aware of his blind side. He just sort of seems to be running and kind of aimlessly, kind of hoping the ball comes to him and he can clear it. He doesn't make a move towards it. Maeda nips in front of him. And yeah, the Rangers defence all over the place, not for the first time this season. So yeah, another poor goal to concede. But but I don't take anything away from the cross and the finish. Daizen Maeda in these past few weeks is just, you know, he's turned it on, which makes you
Yeah,
wonder what he's been doing for the majority of the season. Because we thought maybe, okay, last campaign was like a one season wonder type thing. He's back to his usual, runs really fast, but doesn't he really do anything? These last few weeks, he's shown he is that 30 goal a season player. So I don't know what he's been doing for for
yeah,
for the majority of the season, but he's showed up when it's mattered in this final stretch, something the Rangers players haven't done. And he's probably for me the main reason Celtic are still competing in this title race. He's really showed up.
yeah, exactly. So, and he's been ultimately probably the difference in a lot of the matches. A goal and assist against St Mirren in the FA Cup. The FA Cup, reading it on here because it says FA Cup. The Scottish FA Cup, the Scottish Cup semi-final. Two goals and an assist against Falkirk. A goal against Hibs, and then of course two goals against Rangers. Very nice movement for the first goal, but how do we even go to explain this second goal? Excellent, excellent goal. One that will be like Yusuf Chimity's early in the season will be remembered in
How
this
mad is
derby
it? Two
for
in
a
the
while.
same two in the same campaign.
Yeah, as absolutely crazy, and just an excellent, excellent goal, and one that being at the game that I'll remember for the rest of my life. I was behind it and I had the perfect view of it. I thought it was going. I didn't think it was going in. I thought it was maybe looping over or going wide, but it just went in. It was initially came from Sebastian Tenetke, who I thought really made a positive impact when he came on. He's a bit hot and cold, as we know, like most wingers. In fairness. But he beats James Tavernier, gets the ball across. It's not a great cross by Taneki. Connor Barron's clearance isn't great. And then Daizen Maeda takes an excellent touch to sort of set the ball up for himself with one foot and then sort of bicycle kicks it into the far top corner with the other, and Jack Butland planted. I've seen a few people moaning at the goalkeeper, but I don't think he was getting to that one, was he, Alex?
No, I think that's a really difficult one to save as well, because it's difficult to judge the flight. I mean, you thought it was going over. Jack Butland, all he can do is stand there and watch. What a terrific finish! If I am being critical of Rangers, I think they could perhaps be quicker on him and not let him have that time to take the touch and shoot like he does. But take nothing away from Maeda himself. This is nothing short of world class. One of the best goals I think I've ever seen, and to do it in an Old Firm derby, just ridiculous. The audacity to even try that, and it comes off, and it's an immortal goal. And Daizen Maeda will forever be immortalised as someone who scored that goal in this game. And if Celtic go on to win the title, it could be seen as just one of the best goals in Celtic's history.
Yeah, exactly that.
For
I
for
think
more
about
for more than the reason of just the pure goal, because it obviously is one
yeah,
of the best goals in Celtic's history. But if the title comes with it, it will
yeah,
just be made even sweeter.
yeah, and that's it. And I think he has. I think he probably already was one, but I think with the recent turn of form, he's probably cemented himself as a modern day Celtic legend. And if Celtic are to go on to win this league title now, then I think all of the form of the earlier parts of the season will be forgotten if he can continue his
That's the
goal
thing
scoring
though
streak into the last couple of
about
games.
a lot of the players of the past who are remembered fondly. Like your dad tells you about them, you Google them, and their stats weren't that great, but they show up in the big games. Obviously there's exceptions like Alan McCoist and Henrik Larsson who were just excellent all the time. But there's some that people talk about. You look at it and you're like, the stats aren't the best. But then, you see what they did to contribute to that win, to that title, to that cup, to that treble, to that double. That is why they're immortalised. And if Maeda ends the season with a League and Cup double and this goal in his catalogue and the way he's turned it on in the back half of the campaign, not even the back half, just the last few weeks,
Yeah.
he will be immortalised as a modern day Celtic legend.
Yeah, it certainly will be. And like we spoke about after Monday's game for Rangers when Derek McInnes made the half-time sub and Danny Rowe seems to pretty much watch his team unfold in front of his eyes and too late to make the changes. It was sort of the same again here. It's difficult to be too critical of him on that when there's two goals in 4 minutes. The game turns so quickly. But yeah, he made the three changes again on 59 minutes. Brought off Mohamed Diamande, Oliver Antman, and James Tavernier. So his last appearance in the derby. Taylor Asgard, Dujon Sterling, and Yedi Gassama come on. I don't know how Oliver Antman lasted that long. I thought he would have been substituted at half time. But yeah, the game was probably too
You
far
know,
gone at that point for Rangers, wasn't it?
you know what's interesting? I don't think Danny Rowe knows how to act. He only knows how to react. Um,
Yeah.
because we go two nil down against Falkirk, score one before half time, and then Danny Rowe gets to go in at half time, make his changes. Rangers come out, win the game 6-3. Go 2-0 down against Motherwell. Danny Rowe makes some changes. Rangers come out in the second half, bring it down to two each. They do lose in the end. Last couple of games, Rangers have gone 1-0 up and ended up losing the game. Because I don't think Danny Rowe knows how to take control, how to keep control in a match. It's interesting. I think he only knows how to react tactically as you think about all the other sort of good performances. I mean, the 3-1 at Parkhead, that was because of some tactical changes as well. I think it was Mohamed Diamande was seen as the big one in that game, and seems like whenever Rangers are in control or like they were on level terms or they needed to do something, they can't keep it, they surrender it, and then maybe Danny Rowe needs to work from there to go back and go, okay, we can bring this game back now. I don't know if being in that controlling position is something that he's shown that he can do as a manager.
Yeah, and that's it's obviously something not being able to react to change in a match is something that I'm not comparing the two of them because they're not even in the same stratosphere as most managers of any of these clubs are. But Wilfred Nancy gets such a hard time for not being able to react quick enough or react at all in some cases to what the opposition manager had done. And yeah, it's obviously not a great look for Danny Rowe, how these
Let's
last two matches have
let's
unfolded.
not blow things out of proportion here. Let's
No,
not.
I'm not. No, because Wilfred Nancy was also given a hard time because his team was played rubbish for the entirety of matches. There was potential in this game for Rangers. They had large periods where they were putting pressure on the Celtic goal, whether that be through open play or set pieces. It doesn't really matter. It all means the same. But no, I just never thought Rangers were going to get back into the game even after the subs, and they had a few chances. They had to credit to Rangers. They did dominate large parts of the second half. But you could maybe say that was Celtic sitting off the game with the lead they had. I think Bojan Miovski hitting the crossbar, I believe, with a header was probably the closest that they came to any sort of comeback. But Celtic held on ultimately for a massive win in context of securing second place, of course, above Rangers. Sort of keeping the bragging rights of Glasgow, at least you could say, at Celtic Park. And obviously getting a bit of goal difference as well, which could make all the difference come the end of the season. But Celtic know now if they win the last two games, they will be champions. But obviously that's easier said than done when they head to Fir Park on Wednesday. And for Rangers, I think it's important for Danny Rowe that he just gets back to business. And I know the two last games don't matter in context of the league, but
I think they need to win the last
yeah,
two.
they do. I think they do because there's going to be already is a large amount of pressure on Danny Rowe and people saying he's not the right man for the job. But like we said, how many times can you just keep sacking managers? You need to stick by one of them, and he'll be hoping that he. And I imagine he probably does have the backing to go through the summer transfer window and
I think
bring in
I
some
think
more
this is
players.
I think this is the first time though where we've had a manager that maybe has been struggling, but I can actually see a future. This isn't his ceiling because when the likes of Clement and Michael Beale and um, to an extent Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, when they began to struggle and plateau, I think that was perhaps their ceiling. Um, and you couldn't really see a way forward. I don't know if I'm making this up in my head, but for me, I think it's different. I can see a future with Danny Rowe.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think that might be everything we've got on this match. Possibly, do you want to do the overhead kick tier
Yeah,
list that I've
yeah, let's do it.
prepared? Right, okay, so I've got four tiers: S, A, B, and C. We'll go for. I've got 8 overhead kick goals here, and it's going to be a blind ranking for you. So I'm just going to give you one in chronological order. You're going to need to put it in a tier and then we'll see what you've got at the end. Okay. So we're starting. I imagine you would have seen all these goals before. They're all pretty well known. Not the best overhead kicks. I believe that there is one better. I can't remember the player that scored it. His name's escaping me. I believe it was for Fiorentina against Barcelona. But anyway, we're starting 2011. Um, Wayne Rooney versus Manchester City. The winner in a Premier League match. An iconic goal, iconic celebration as well.
B.
B.
Yeah, he shinned it.
Okay, okay. The second one is in 2013 in an international friendly when Zlatan Ibrahimovic scored 4 goals for Sweden in a 4-2 win over England.
A. A.
Eh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. That was a crazy goal with the distance on it. One of my personal, right up there, favourites, Cristiano Ronaldo v Juventus in the
S.
Champions League 2018. Yes.
Yeah, I was waiting on that one. That's my. I don't think there's anyone that I'll put above that.
I think it's just it's like an aesthetically pleasing, this goal, the way it just sits in the corner.
The height,
And how high he obviously gets is remarkable.
it's insane. I'd maybe only put one up next to him.
We'll
Um,
see if we have this one. Going next was obviously, and I don't think it was the following round, but it was obviously the final of the Champions League that year was Gareth Bale against Liverpool, when obviously came on to grab a brace and win
I'd
the
put
Champions League for
I'd
Liverpool,
put that
for
I'd
Real
put
Madrid, sorry.
in A.
A tier for that one, okay. So is that A tier done then? You've not got any space in there anymore?
Wait, how many am I? Only three in each tier.
No, 2 in each tier.
Oh, I think I've got quite a few in A.
No, you've only got one. You've got one in each. You've got
No,
one in
I-
S, A, and C, I think, or S, A, and B.
I've got Rooney in B, Zlatan and Cristiano in A.
No, Ronaldo was
No,
an
no, no,
S.
Zlatan and Bale in A, and Ronaldo in S. Did I miss one?
No, no, that's all. We've only done 4 so far.
Okay.
So, um,
Oh, I might need
but
to change.
A's
Might
but
need.
A's blocked, so you can't use A anymore.
Wait, can I not like move? Can I change my mind on one
Yeah,
of
you
them?
can change your mind. Yeah, right. Well, okay, I'll let you. But halfway point, I'll let you change your mind. Right.
I'm gonna put Rooney down to C, Gareth Bale down to B.
Okay, no further changing though. You need to stick with what you've got.
Okay.
Okay, next up is a Premier League game from 2023. Alejandro Garnacho v Everton at Goodison Park.
C.
See, okay. Um, why is that? Just because you don't like Garnacho and you left Man United, the club you support? Is that why?
No, I just if I think I know what's coming, I think these goals are better. So
Okay. Next up, Scott McTominay versus Denmark in
S.
Cup
S.
qualifying 2025. Yep, fair enough. Next up, the penultimate one, Yusuf Chermiti v Celtic in the Scottish Premiership in
A.
2026.
A.
Eh?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Daizen Maeda v Rangers in the Scottish Premiership.
B.
Oh, big call from Alex. He said Yusuf Chavites is better than Daizen Maeda's.
It is.
I disagree. I think Maeda's is better,
Really?
but I think that they're different though. You need to.
Maeda's
It's
was
different.
a lazy sort of kind of bounce up in the air, let it go down, just loop it in. Germitis was in the moment, fast paced, ball in, the ball's behind him. He needs to jump up, connects it so well.
I think these overhead kick goals are always sort of subjective, sorry, because you've got to appreciate the technique, but you've also got to appreciate sometimes the height they get to. So, yeah, I can't really disagree with anyone that would say Yusuf Chamiti's overhead kick was better, but I prefer Daizen Maeda's. But that may be biased, same as for you. But moving on to the other big game and the title race on Saturday night as Motherwell hosted Heart of Midlothian. Of course, as I think I mentioned last week or the other week, Hearts along with Falkirk, the only team not to be beaten by the Steelmen this season, and that continued. But they did drop 2 points in the process, and well, I think the notable things from the sort of this game was that it was the biggest attendance. Do you see it was the biggest attendance at Fir Park since 2005?
Wow.
Uh, and that was on Helicopter Sunday when, of course, former Celtic striker Scott McDonald ended Martin O'Neill and Celtic's hopes of
Yeah.
the league. And
Right before he went to Celtic.
was it not? Was it before he went to Celtic? Oh yeah, it must have been. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. He was joining them that summer.
Uh, I thought it was after. I don't know why. It wouldn't make any sense if it was after. Um, but yeah, so that's really good, and I imagine we'll see something similar on Wednesday night when Celtic go to Motherwell and look to right the wrongs of that. What was probably Motherwell's best performance of the season. But anyway, going on to this game, Motherwell were without Lucas Fadinga in the squad as him and his partner were celebrating the birth of his child. So Oscar Priestman replaced him. Alex Shearer, good mate Paul McGinn wasn't involved in the squad. Andy Halliday announced his retirement in the week, so he was on the bench for Motherwell and got a nice tribute and from both sides to celebrate his career. Of course, both played for both Motherwell and Hearts. On Derek McInnes' side, he brought Blair Spittle into the starting 11 after he probably changed the game. Well, I think he did change the game against Rangers on Monday. And I think Hearts probably started the better of the two sides with more of possession and probably carrying a greater threat. But ultimately, it was Motherwell who opened the scoring. That was after Lawrence Shanklin had a really big chance, which he'll probably reflect on as one he would have expected to score. It was a nice move from the Jambos. Jordi Alpena had a shot that was saved by Ward, and it looked like Shanklin was just going to fall in for an easy tap in. But Stephen O'Donnell with an excellent block to stop that happening. Although I think Shanklin probably just lifts the ball into the roof of the net, and it is a goal. And then Motherwell did get the goal with some nice play down the left hand side. Maspanise with a back heel to Emmanuel Longello, who played it along the 6 yard line across the box, and Alexander Swallow, I don't think really covered himself in glory trying to come and claim it. And under pressure from Ibrahim side, Stephen Kingsley unfortunately played it in his own net to give the Steel men in the lead. And crazy, Alex, that Hearts have went behind or conceded the first goal in the last 5 matches.
Yeah, no, this is a theme of Hearts at the moment, but they've been finding a way to win. They didn't do that last night. Sorry, the previous night.
Saturday.
I'm all mixed up. But yeah, fair play to Motherwell. It's shown again, their strengths. I mean, I think we might end I think we might end the season in this split period with Motherwell taking points off all three sides during the split. I think I think they will get something against Celtic as well at Fir Park. I mean, it's been a fortress for them this campaign, with the exception of Falkirk, who seem to love to play there. But yeah, really, really good performance again, I think. And yeah, Motherwell are they're the constant sort of thorn in the side
Yeah,
of the top three this campaign. I mean, I think I said before, if Hearts beat Motherwell on Saturday, I would back them to win the league. Now, obviously, they've given Celtic the opportunity. Only a point between them now. They play each other on the final day at Parkhead. It's lining up to be really exciting. So, yeah, really, really big blow, I'd say, for Hearts in this title race. Motherwell just, keeping their fourth place position solid. They're kind of in limbo, but they're still playing good football. And yes, it's another twist. Um,
yeah,
you would have maybe thought with Rangers falling out of it, maybe Hearts would, um, kick on a little bit. Take that win last week and beat Motherwell, and keep that distance. But now it's just getting even more exciting. I mean, obviously, I don't want Celtic to win the league, but if I'm taking off my Rangers hat for a minute and just looking at it from like an outside perspective, this is something we haven't had for years in the Scottish Premiership, and yeah, it is exciting. Just everything coming down to the dying seconds. I'm looking forward to what will unfold. Hopefully, a Hearts title win. But yeah,
yeah. But yeah, as we said, 5 games running is quite incredible. But out of the previous 12 points up for grab, they had claimed 10 of them. So you did expect Hearts were going to come back into the game, and then they did get the equaliser. It was a similar sort of series of play. Altena has the shot, saved by Ward. This time Shanklin does lift it, and he finds the net. His 19th goal of the season, 15th in the league. Some poor defending from Motherwell, but like not poor defending, yeah, poor defending from Motherwell. Like it was poor defending from Hearts for the Motherwell goal. And then the first of two massive blows to the Jambos was that Mark Leonard had to be replaced at half time by Alexandros Kazridis, an Achilles injury, which Derek McInnes says will have him out for the remaining matches. And then,
ooh, could that be their Achilles heel in the title race?
oh no, yeah, it certainly could be. And then obviously, unfortunately, lightning strike twice where Hearts is Craig Halkett also forced off with an Achilles injury. Absolutely
Could that
mental
be their
coincidence.
Achilles heel in the title race?
You can't use it twice. But Derek McInnes said
I
after the
can.
game,
Yeah, I
well, you
can.
did, but
Lightning,
to not to.
lightning strikes twice.
Yeah, I just said that. I just said that.
No, that's the
No,
point.
no. Dave McInnes said after the game that I think he's had one player that's ever fallen to an Achilles injury during a game. Now he's had two in the space of a match, space of well, just either side of half time, presumably. So yeah, crazy, unfortunate for fortune for Hearts, and you've just got to hope that they've got the players that can come in and replace them. But they've been two massive players for them this season. Leonardson's coming in, and obviously Halkett throughout the season. And you hope for a selfish point of view for us that Craig Halkett is okay and he can be part of the Scotland squad like he deserves for the World Cup off of his performances this season.
I still don't think Steve Clark will pick him though. Genuinely.
That's always a possibility.
If there was a time to pick him, it would have been in that last sort of,
He was injured though. Was he not injured though for that one?
yeah, but I mean, like before for like the
Yeah,
qualifiers and that.
yeah, no, you're probably right, but.
and he didn't.
Um,
So
Mark Leonard's obviously Scottish as well, but obviously he's
is
in a
he
very
another fake Scotsman?
no, I think he actually is Scottish. Well, they're all actually Scottish, but we know your thing on Scots. But no, I think he's obviously in a lot more of a competitive area of the Scotland squad. But yeah, really unfortunate for Hearts, and they probably had even more sort of misfortune in the second period when I think they should have had a penalty. Um, it was after Stephen O'Donnell, first of all, thought he had scored for Motherwell, but he was offside. That one was pretty clear, and they dealt with that pretty quickly. But then it was a Hearts corner. Alexandros Kasudis makes a run towards the front post. No one tracks him. Then Tawanda Masonise spots him out the corner of his eyes. The corner's being taken short, and he appears to just stand on Kasridis's foot. Uh, the Greek winger does, I'll say, not help himself with his theatrics, but Stephen McLean didn't see it at the time. He's sent to the monitor. He watches it back and decides to stick with his decision, which I think is crazy. McInnes after the game came out and said that he thought Stephen McLean had a poor game, and you can see why McInnes is frustrated. I think they were denied what should have been a penalty and could be massive and the run in for this title, Alex.
Yeah, I've not seen the incident in question, so I can't really speak on that. But if there was a potential penalty missed, could could be massive. Could be the refs again giving something in favour of Celtic. Oh, conspiracy!
Oh,
Uh,
conspiracy, Alex. Alex loves a conspiracy, as we
yeah,
know on here. But
I can't remember where I put my tinfoil hat. But yeah, no, but it could be massive if it was indeed a penalty missed by the officials, and um, every decision is huge. It's season defining at this point in the campaign, and yeah, I think people maybe get on to Derek McInnes about complaining and stuff like that, but I mean, I feel like when it gets to this point, and if there's obvious things being missed, he has every right to complain.
yeah, exactly that. And the thing that'll be even more annoying probably is that it's not missed in terms of that they've not seen it and decided not to check it or whatever. But they've informed the referee that he should have a second look, and he's decided to stick with his decision. So that's where he's going to come under massive scrutiny. You know, we like to see referees stick with the decision they made on the field if it's the right one and they believe in it. But yeah, I just don't think that they got this right, and it could be massive, as we said. How do how do you think Hearts will be able to deal with the two injuries that likely that Leonard and Halkett aren't going to be a part of the remaining two games? How do you think that will affect them immediately? Obviously, when they play Falkirk at Tynecastle on Wednesday.
I think they'll be okay. I mean, I think it's definitely a blow, but they managed. I think they managed to get through a stretch of the campaign where they had two even more crucial injuries. They've got their best player back, and he's shown it. So I think he'll be. I think they'll be all right. Especially against Falkirk. I think the real test will come at Parkhead on the final day. Although it could be in a scenario where that game doesn't matter, depending on the results on Wednesday. So it's very, very interesting the way it plays out. As long as Hearts get the win, they put themselves in a good position going into Parkhead, because then Celtic will have to win no matter what. So yeah, but I think they should be okay. I mean, Mark Leonard's decent, but I don't think he's like, oh my god, this is a huge miss. Obviously, he will be a miss, but it's not. I don't think it's a disaster. Halkett's the bigger one, obviously, but I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they will be okay against Falkirk on Wednesday, and I would agree with you again. I think Celtic will be the big challenge, but they've not had the lack of facing adversity this season, and that's what makes great teams, ones that are able to bounce back from that. Obviously, Cammy Devlin's not really been in the starting 11 a lot recently. He's recovering from injury, and McInnes will be hoping that he sort of returns at the perfect time to just take the mantle back off of Mark Leonard, who obviously took the responsibility from him when he was injured in the first place. So yeah, just looking at the sort of the gap between the two teams, obviously down to just a single point now that Hearts are ahead of Celtic, as well as two goal difference. Celtic to have the superior goal scored if it was to come down to that. And for Celtic, avoiding defeat at Fir Park on Wednesday is crucial. A draw would mean that they can beat Hearts on the last day if the goal difference is still within reason. And of course, if Celtic were to win on Wednesday, a win against Hearts on the final day, no matter the scoreline, would secure the title. For Hearts, as you mentioned, the possibility if they were to beat Falkirk on Wednesday and Celtic were to lose at Motherwell, they would be crowned champions, and yeah, they would probably lift the would they lift the league? They would lift the league title on Wednesday night, wouldn't they?
What
Yeah,
if Celtic lost and Hearts won?
yeah,
Yeah, they would.
yeah, they would. So yeah, there we go. But also the unlikely, I think Hearts will win, and but if they were to lose, then Celtic could have the advantage going into the final day. I think Hearts do need to have the advantage going into the final day, because I would fancy Celtic going into that game, but I fancy Celtic less so against Motherwell on Wednesday, based on what we've seen in the previous meeting. For Motherwell, as you said, they've just been getting along. They've been doing enough to stay in that fourth place ahead of Hibs, who obviously put a little bit more pressure on them with their result, which we'll get on to. 4 points with two games. 2 points should be enough to secure that position. The teams meet on the last day. If David Gray's side can get a positive result against Rangers at Ibrox on Wednesday, they can maybe keep sort of that game within uh, reason that they can get a win to maybe get fourth place. But I think, as I predicted at the start, I think all fourth, fifth, and sixth will stay the same. I just don't think the teams are going to be able to pick up enough points, and I think that'll be proven to be correct. Anything more to say on this game? Or are we ready to move on to the final game of the top half? Obviously, on the Saturday game, it was the two teams you could say battling out for fifth. I think I
By
asked
the,
you last week.
by the way,
Uh,
on my return on the Scottish Football Zone, I was the only one to predict Hibs to win. So, you know, just got that just got that crystal ball.
yeah, yeah, well done. You said it on here as well, so you obviously doubled down. Because I asked you, do you think Falkirk can get fifth, and you said no. I think Hibs will see it out, and obviously a great result for them at the weekend, which proves that they will most likely do so. What's the situation now? 5 points ahead, a vastly superior goal difference as well. So a
And
single point.
Falkirk need to play Hearts and Rangers in their last two games.
Yeah, so I think Hibs have secured fifth place, and they'll be looking to chase down Motherwell now. But obviously, it'll be a really difficult game going to Ibrox, because that Rangers supporter would expect a result, especially after the ones that have came before. So yeah, going through the goals in this game, Josh Campbell opened the scoring after 3 minutes. Poor defending from Falkirk, I'll say, on all three of these goals. But I think I'd say that probably for most goals. Most goals are poor defending. That's kind of how they work. But Josh Campbell does well to get on the end of the John Abita corner, and massive goal at that stage in the game to really settle David Gray's team into what would have been a packed out Falkirk Stadium. I think over 7,000 in attendance, I heard saying in the highlights. And then it was Martin Boyle who provided the cross for another Josh Campbell header. Uh, can't believe Falkirk have let the ball bounce in the box there in that scenario, and then Campbell heads past. It was Nicky Hogarth that was in goals, wasn't it? Yeah. Uh, to double the lead within 20 minutes. And then in the 40th minute, it was Jordan Abita who got on the score sheet after setting up the first. Back from suspension, Felix Pashlack, a nice ball into the box that's allowed to run all the way to his fellow wing back at the back post. And he could have tried to go in the up post. There's a Falkirk defender there blocking. I think a shot to the far post might have been blocked as well. So he opts to go through the legs of the goalkeeper. A really good finish from him. And at that point, I think would it be fair to say that the points were probably already wrapped up before half time for David Gray's side?
Yeah, definitely a consolation for Falkirk in the second half through Ben Brogio, who's been terrific, by the way. I mean, if Rangers are looking for winger alternatives, they can't get Mikey Moore back. Obviously, they're different players, but I wouldn't mind them looking at this young man to come in. I think he's been excellent since coming in from Villa on loan. Obviously, they'll have Curtis coming back as well, who's been very good in his loan spell at Kilmarnock. But a consolation for Falkirk, and yeah, definitely over by half time. Really interesting. I mean, Falkirk Stadium. I mean, I think there's been a couple of defeats this season, but I feel like it's definitely a tough place to go. You don't really expect a team to go there and be 3-0 up by half time. So I think John McGlynn will be disappointed with this. The team will be disappointed. The fans will be disappointed. But take nothing away from them. It's been an excellent season. Back-to-back promotions. Back in the Scottish Premiership for the first time in don't even know how long. And, you know, they've... I think they've exceeded expectations. I think we had them quite low down because we didn't think their recruitment was good enough. But they've definitely exceeded expectations and they've flown up into the top half, and a well-deserved top half finish for Falkirk. Hibs, I think, in flashes this season have shown, I think, what they're capable of. I mean, if you look at how everyone's looked at Motherwell's season and everyone's looked at Hibs' season, it's a matter of perspective. Because everyone's been raving about Motherwell and their football was excellent, but there's only 4 points between them. And everyone's been talking about how inconsistent and poor Hibs have been. But, you know, maybe they just need to get that consistency because I don't know how the other 3 will fare next campaign, but could be a much more competitive title race again if Hibs and Motherwell manage to, kick on a little bit, catch up. So maybe maybe my thinking's been altered by how this season's gone. Because if you'd asked me this a year ago, I would say there would be nobody except Rangers and Celtic. But I think this season has opened the eyes of other clubs. There could be an opportunity.
Yeah, there certainly could be, and hopefully the clubs do take inspiration from what's been an incredible season. And yeah, for these two clubs, no matter where they land come the final day, I think they should be proud of the season's work, especially Falkirk. And yeah, I think the comparison between Motherwell and Hibs is a really interesting one. Obviously, Motherwell, new manager, the style of play and the sort of financial differences between Hibs, but Hibs have still been, they've not been excellent. They've not took your breath away or anything, but they've had a really solid season and something to build on. They've got some great players in that squad. Josh Mulligan been injured for a lot of the season as well. He's a top player, and they've got so many players like that. Hibs, who they'll do well to keep a hold of all of them. Same for Falkirk. I know obviously Falkirk have used the loan market very well. And yeah, a really interesting call about Ben Brogio, but he certainly is a very talented player and a really nice finish, albeit a consolation.
Yeah, Falkirk as well, though you mentioned there about the loan market, will be a big summer for them. Whether they can get some of these guys back, I doubt it. Because either the clubs that have loaned them will be looking for them to play, or they'll be trying to loan them to the English Championship, or they'll try and sell them. I mean, because you think about that English tax, like Philip Lisa can go for a lot of money. I'm sure they could fetch a few million for Ben Brosio, and that's just not within the realms of possibility, unfortunately, for um, Falkirk. So it'll definitely be a big summer for them. Yeah, that English
Yeah,
tax is so real, by the way, because I was looking at and maybe big club tax as well, you could say, because I was looking at a few players there. So Finlay Curtis has got 5 goals and 1 assist in the Scottish Premiership. In the whole of the campaign for Rangers and Kilmarnock combined, he's got 7 goals and 3 assists, which is 10 goal contributions in 33 appearances. A lot of those off the bench for Rangers. According to FotMobby's market value is £1 million. Let's see for Ben Brogio. Ben Brogio has 7 goal contributions in 15 matches, which is terrific. According to FotMob, his market value is £241,000. So less than Finlay Curtis, but this proves my theory on the English tax. Mikey Moore has 10 goal contributions, the same as Finlay Curtis in 45 appearances. His market value on FotMob is £15 million.
yeah, yeah. But Mikey Moore's always been a top talent coming from down south. So you know,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. It's
no,
the English
no,
tax.
there is certainly an English tax, um, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it will be difficult for Falkirk to get some of these players back. You look at Philip Lisa. I think he could even go down and compete for a starting place for Swansea City in the Championship. So yeah, I think they've got some really good young players there, some really good experienced ones as well, and I think John McGlynn will look to build on what's been a great season for them. Obviously, a little bit disappointing maybe recently with the semi-final performance, and then not being able to achieve fifth, but sixth is still an excellent achievement, which everyone at the club should be immensely proud of. And for Hibs, it's always going to be difficult when Hearts are doing so well, and you're nervous that they are going to win the league. So yeah, that's obviously difficult for the Hibs fans to go through. But I think focusing on themselves and blocking out the outside noise, it's been a decent campaign for them. I think this is probably everything we've got on this game. Unless you've got anything else to add before we move to the bottom half.
No.
I don't think there's any. Yeah, okay. I don't think there's anywhere better to start in the bottom half than in the big relegation playoff 11th place crunch 6 pointer, whatever you want to call it. St Mirren hosting Kilmarnock in Paisley. Kilmarnock having come into the game a terrible away record. St Mirren come into the game just terrible form in general, and just look like they're struggling to score goals at the moment. Never mind win a match or even draw one. And I think I going into this game, I thought Kilmarnock would be able to do the job and take the 3 points, but in such dominant fashion, I didn't see coming. I know they beat Dundee United 3-0 last weekend, but I didn't expect Kilmarnock to win by 3 goals to 0 in the way they did. Did you, Alex?
No, definitely not. I thought St Mirren would at least try to make it more competitive, but they seem to be resigned to their fate of coming up against potentially Partick Thistle in the playoffs. And after a wee glimmer of hope under Craig McLeish, St Mirren have been absolutely awful. They've been dreadful. And a 3-0 defeat at home is shocking. I mean, so strange. They might win the League Cup and go down A really, really interesting campaign from St Mirren, and yeah, obviously we spoke a lot about Finlay Curtis, scored 2 goals here. Sort of patting the Kilmarnock badge hand on heart. He spoke about after the game how it's going to be sad when he has to leave. So I think that all but confirms he's returning to Rangers, even if there was a sliver of hope for Kilmarnock fans. Sorry. You know what they say, never fall in love with a lone player. But yeah, terrific win for Kilmarnock. All but confirms their safety for me. And St Mirren look like they're heading for a relegation playoff.
Yeah, they certainly do, and I think Dunfermline, obviously, as we'll get on to, got through the first round of the championship promotion playoff and will face Partick Thistle, as you said. And I think both of those teams will be licking their lips at the prospect of playing Craig McLeish's side at the minute, because they don't look capable of doing anything. They weren't bad and they weren't too bad in the game. I don't think they had more of the ball. They certainly had chances watching the highlights, but just couldn't convert any of them. They look so toothless in front of goal. And in the last 3 games, they've lost all 3 of them. They've lost 6 goals, not scored any. And yeah, really, really worrying for them, especially with how Partick Thistle have played this season and how we've seen Dunfermline beat better Scottish Premiership sides throughout their Scottish Cup run to the final. So yeah, big blow for St Mirren, and I think that ultimately does seal their fate as 11th place finish side. I'll just go through the goals. Kilmarnock only actually had 1 shot in the first half, and that didn't lead to the goal because it was obviously an own goal. It was a cross from let me remember, it was Tom Lowry that crossed it from the left hand side, and Miguel Freckleton put it into his own net under pressure from I think it was Joe Hugo or Hugo that was at the back post. Freckleton was appealing for what looked to be a handball. I don't really know what he was complaining about. There didn't seem to be any problem with that goal. And St Mirren had chances, but even in the first half, as I said, Kilmarnock had 1 shot. They still, I think, had more of the highlights, which says a lot about how this game went. And then to start the second half, Finlay Curtis gets on the score sheet again after he scored last weekend in the win over United, and a really nice goal from him. Greg Kiltie sort of feeds the ball through, and Curtis runs through unmarked, and it's a really composed and confident finish from the young winger. And I think that's a finish that it just sort of shows the level that he's at, and I don't know if you'd get that from many Kilmarnock. No disrespect, wingers at Kilmarnock and Finlay Curtis's age, and that's why he will be going back to Rangers. But he's been an absolutely excellent addition to Neil McCann's squad and helped them stay up. And as you said, he's obviously really enjoyed his time there and really appreciates the opportunity probably the club has given him, and the support the fans have given him as well. And then the second goal was even better. Another really similar goal to his other two at Kilmarnock so far with his right foot. Tom Lowry actually credited with assist this time. He finds Curtis and first time with his right foot curls it into the far corner. Really nice goal again. And a day before, Rangers right winger problems shown to all. He has shown why maybe loaning him out was the wrong thing to do in the first place.
Yeah, but I think. Oh, can you hear that?
No?
All right, I just got a mad echo on my side. Sorry to the viewers there. But yeah, I think though if he'd stayed at Rangers, he wouldn't have developed in the way he has at Kilmarnock. He's, went somewhere where a guy who's had experience with him from last season trusts him. I mean, Neil McCann worked with him obviously in that spell. He was part of the coaching staff, brought him in, played him in numerous positions. Me and Laurie were actually theorising whether, because he's played at right back quite a lot, Finlay Curtis, so we were theorising whether Neil McCann knew that James Tavernier was leaving, so they were training him up to replace him. But no, he's developed really really well, and I think he definitely can make an impact at Rangers. I mean, uh, I'm not so sure whether he's ready to start week in week out. But if he is, that would be great. That'd be because we're always crying out for more good young Scottish players coming through, especially for the old firm clubs. It's been a problem. You maybe see them in flashes and then they disappear. I mean, I can think of plenty of examples for Rangers: Leon King, Alex Lowry. Um, if we even go so far back, Kai Kennedy, Josh McPaig was touted to be fantastic, and then he sort of drifted into the lower leagues in England. He's obviously come back. He's been terrific for St Johnstone, and he could potentially be joining a championship side. And Hearts, if they win the league, obviously he's joining Hearts no matter what. But if they win the league, he'll be joining the champions. And yeah, so but we've seen loads of players like that. I mean, it looks like it might happen to Colby Donovan as well. Seems like it's already happened to Dane Murray. I'm hoping that this is a player that comes through and stays and develops and becomes a Rangers player for a few years, or they sell him somewhere and he actually does well, because we've seen players as well go down south to move on to bigger and better things, and they've really struggled. I mean, Bobby Wales from Kilmarnock came. He was playing at Swansea for the first little bit, and Daizen Maeda came in. He was out the side. He's on loan at Huddersfield. He's barely played there either. So I really hope Finlay Curtis can come back to Rangers, make an impact. I mean, if you're obviously they have to play well, but my dream scenario would be Rangers get Mikey Moore back, and then you have Moore and Curtis on the wings. That would be my dream scenario. Obviously, two young wingers there, potential for the future. If I'm really thinking if I'm really living in Delulu land, I'd want Moore as a permanent Rangers player, but I don't think that'd ever happen. Yeah, I really hope Curtis can make an impact, but I think he's come into his own. I mean, I remember talking to Laurie, and Laurie thought he would be good, but he didn't think he'd be this good right away at this level. Because his previous experience had just sort of been coming off the bench for Rangers and stuff like that. And we started a few games, obviously in the European qualifiers, but Laurie didn't think he'd make this much of an impact. And I think he'd actually said he was clearly one of, if not the best player at Kilmarnock when he came in. So yeah, he's been really really good. Sorry, I went
Yeah,
on a rant there.
no, not at all. But this is a guy like you forget that he has had obviously limited game time at Rangers, but this is a guy who won Rangers um, a first leg, was it, in a European tie this season. He's obviously a very talented player. He seems like he has a great attitude from everything you hear and see from him. And yeah, I think he has all the capabilities and tools to go right to the top. And now that you've said it about Mikey Moore, it's a bit of it's like a similar situation that Mikey Moore's in at Rangers compared to what Finlay Curtis is at Kilmarnock, is in he is, you can see in flashes of how, despite how young he is, that he's got a really good head on his shoulders, and that he does have the sort of mentality to go to the top. And for both of those clubs, they'd love to have him back for next season, but it looks like that's not going to happen, and Mikey Moore will likely go back to Spurs, Curtis back to Rangers. And now this result leaves Kilmarnock all but safe of relegation, and St Mirren, as we mentioned, staring down the barrel of a relegation playoff match. Kilmarnock 4 goal difference ahead of St Mirren, 4 points ahead of St Mirren, 2 points from the last two, likely enough. 3 points will secure Kilmarnock's safety, but St Mirren don't look like picking up anything anyway, so they should be okay. Moving on to the other matches in the bottom half, which had a lot less riding on them. You could say we'll start in Aberdeen when they ran out 2-0 winners over what was a 10-man Dundee United. Not for the whole game, of course, but they did get a red card. Aberdeen opened the score in 19th minute to Yossi Olasanya, ran in behind. He cut back, laid it off to former United man Stuart Armstrong, who took a nice touch and finish into the corner. Not good enough defending from United, showing too much respect to their former player, but a nice finish from Armstrong. And then in the second half, after Emmanuel, is it Adieu? Is it the Emmanuel Adieu? Is it the United midfielder? Is that how you say his name? I'm not being 100% sure on that
I
one,
don't
but
know.
uh, but he was shown a second yellow card and sent off a pretty cynical foul on Olasanya. And then it was Olasanya after setting up the first one. He did eventually and finally get his first goal for Aberdeen under his old St Mirren manager, Stephen Robinson, with 2 minutes to spare. It was a shot from the edge of the box from Leo Cameron, saved by the United goalkeeper, Dave Richards, and then he followed in, and I think you could see the relief on his teammates, throughout his teammates that eventually got that goal. He's obviously not had the easiest of times since joining Aberdeen, uh, pretty much since leaving St Mirren, really, and he'll be hoping, Stephen Robinson will always certainly be hoping he can maybe carry that form into the last two games, although, as I said, they don't mean too much, and can be a large part of the rebuild throughout the season. I think Stephen Robinson said he already knows what players are going to be here next season and what ones aren't, which is certainly interesting. So I think a lot of the players um, under his management at the minute are playing for their future at the club. But good win for Aberdeen. Not really too much to say on this match. It's one of the most um, inconsequential of the weekend, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, two things to come from this game is the fact that Stuart Armstrong and Dimitar Mitov will need surgery, so they'll miss the last two games of the season. Maybe the end of Stuart Armstrong's career. I mean, he's getting on in years a bit. He not been particularly great this season. Dimitar Mitov has been hot and cold. But yeah, inconsequential. Good win. Good building blocks for the following campaign. That'll be interesting. Stephen Robinson could be the man to sink St Mirren or tomorrow after the Tuesday games. Obviously, they play each other. But yeah, decent win, and yeah, fair enough. These two teams don't really have anything to play for, so
Yeah, I think it's just seventh place really, and I think Dundee United will maybe have enough to get that. I would have said so, but back-to-back defeats with no goals, Aberdeen just 3 points behind them now. Maybe they can close out seventh place, but yeah, as we know, that's not really good enough for a club of Aberdeen's size. Moving on to the last game, which yeah, again, not really too much riding on it. Dundee still probably wanting to play for one of the upper places in the bottom six. They're 4 points behind United, and maybe they can turn that around and grab the Dundee bragging rights. But I think Dundee will just be happy that they're still in the division based off the expectations. I think everyone, including their own supporters, had at the start of the season. It was Cameron Congreve who opened the scoring in 13 minutes when the ball fell for him and he finished past Jerome Prior. Then in the second half, they doubled their lead in the 71st minute. Congreve turned provider this time. His ball across the box found its way to Finlay Robertson, who had an easy finish at the back post. And then Livingston looked like, well, no, they did have the chance to get back into the game through a penalty, which Robbie Muirhead took, and it was saved by who on Football has been awarded man of the match, Kieran O'Hara in his first start since joining Dundee. Obviously, I think I remember him, former Kilmarnock goalkeeper, and I think I've seen someone in the YouTube highlight comments saying, bin John McCracken and go with this guy going forward. And I think Alex, no, Alex's thoughts. He probably agrees with that.
Yeah, probably. I'm going to tone back my sort of personal vendettas. But yeah, no, maybe because John McCracken has been poor, I think, for a couple of years. I mean, he has good moments, but he's a bomb scare. So I think you need to try and find an alternative for him.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair enough opinion. And then Dundee rounded it off the 3 points with a third goal. Like the second goal, the goal scorer of the goal before turned provider. Finlay Robertson this time a nice ball into the box, and Ashley Hay with the header to make it 3-0 and well and truly wrap up the points for Dundee. And I think the main talking point from this match isn't directly related to the game, but the really surprising fact, and one that I imagine you probably agree with me, Alex, it's quite disappointing that Marvin Bartley's not going to be at Livingston next season.
Yeah, it's strange. Very strange. We were talking about last week how just we thought he could bring them back up, but he's not going to be the Livingston manager. Scott Arfield in interim charge now. It's been a strange season for Scotty Arfield, but yeah, real shame for Marvin Bartley. I'm interested to see where he goes next.
Yeah, and we obviously don't know the full ins and outs, but it looks like he's sort of been forced his hand a little bit, although he um, has resigned. And yeah, like you said, for Arfield, busy season for him on and off the pitch. I think he just opened his new pub. I think the 442 is called or something along those lines.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Scott, if you're watching, we'd be happy for a wee brand deal. We reach about 50 people every single week, so which doesn't seem like a lot. But if you think about it, that could be, a few pints in there, a few meals. So yeah, just let us know.
yeah, and we appreciate, and we I know we joke about it, but we do appreciate everyone who watches, and we
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
anyone who tunes in to watch us deserves a medal. But obviously, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of people, but we do value whoever is watching this. We really appreciate you because I feel like if we didn't have the 50 or so people who tune in every single week, we probably wouldn't do it. It's you guys that keep us going. So, because we enjoy doing it, but if nobody's paying attention, then what is the point? But
yeah,
we really, really appreciate everyone who's tuned in with us over the season, stuck with us when we've had little breaks and stuff like that, and technical issues, poor production, all that sort of thing. So, yeah, we really appreciate anyone who does take maybe an hour to an hour and a half out their day to listen to us.
yeah, exactly that. And we will be bringing more content over the next few weeks to conclude the season and then into the World Cup, which I'm sure, like myself, Alex is very excited for. So yes, yeah, it was a strange one with Marvin Bartley, but yeah, I think Livingston will need all the luck throughout the summer to build a good squad to get up through the championship because as we know it's a very difficult division. Just look at what Ross County have obviously been through this season, and yeah, I think that's everything for the Scottish Premiership unless I've missed anything. And now I'll go through the sort of playoff games that happened on Saturday, and obviously the first legs were throughout the week, the playoffs across the divisions. So yes, we had the Scottish Championship qualification to either be promoted from League One into the Championship or to stay in the Championship. Alloa Athletic looking to be promoted. They beat the Airdrieonians 3-1 on aggregate to relegate Airdrie to League One. And Stenhousemuir, big favourites to win that sort of round, or that sort of opportunity to be promoted to the Championship after a great season with Gary Naismith, who's now, of course, going to be the next Ayr United manager, but still seeing out this playoff campaign, and they just about squeezed past Queen of the South, two each um, on the second leg, three each on aggregate, 4-3 on penalties to Steny. So they are through to the final against a fellow League One side, Allo Athletic, with the winner advancing to the Championship. Moving down a division, this is the teams trying to stay in League One. A really good couple of performances from Hamilton Academic, or the Ackies, as Alex would call them. 2-1 win in the second leg, 5-2 in aggregate over Forfar, and they go into the final against Clyde, who, a really funny story there. Clyde, obviously now playing in Hamilton's ground, Hamilton now playing in Clyde's ground. So it'll be a really strange couple of legs for those two
Well,
teams.
Hamilton are back home now. Managed to get back into New Douglas Park.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed that. Oh, it's poor by me. Um, but anyway, that should be entertaining,
Both
like all of
legs
them.
will be at New Douglas Park. Can you believe it?
Are they?
I don't know.
Well, no, actually, let me check. It'll tell me here. Well, the first leg, Clyde v Hamilton, is at the ZLX Stadium. Yeah, they're both. Yeah, you're right. They're both at the ZLX Stadium. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Home,
certainly
home
interesting.
advantage.
Yeah, that's a bit of a strange one, got to say. And then League Two qualification. It was only the first leg of that was played on Saturday. I think we spoke on our discontent for the opportunities the Highland and Lowland League sides have to get promoted to League Two. It was Brother Rangers who from that would be the Highland League, I believe. The winners of that faced Edinburgh City, who finished bottom of League Two. But as I said about Edinburgh City, they haven't been too bad this season. Just that massive points deduction and the financial troubles have obviously held them back, as most people will know. And it was one each in the first leg at Brora. So the second leg will be in Edinburgh on Saturday. Yes, Saturday coming. So a full week rest for that tie. And then the one that's not here because it was, of course, played on the Friday night, which I already referenced to, was the Scottish Premiership qualification quarter final. Third place in the Championship, Arbroath went up against fourth place in the Championship, Neil Lennon's Dunfermline Athletic. The first leg, Dunfermline won 1-0 at East End Park, and at Gayfield Park in the second leg, it was a scoreless draw. So Dunfermline advanced as we expected, but take nothing away from the season Arbroath have had. Really impressive season for a club of their size to go on two runs and pretty close seasons, really close to the top end of the championship. Is nothing to be sniffed at, of course. They ran Kilmarnock really close, it was, when Kilmarnock returned to the Scottish Premiership. So, yeah, Dunfermline through, and now they face Partick Thistle. The first leg being at Dunfermline tomorrow night, and the second leg being the BBC Scotland Friday night game at Partick Thistle. Do you have anyone you fancy for that one? I think you fancy Partick Thistle to take that over the two legs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think Partick Thistle will prevail, although I think it's unpredictable. I think going out would favour Dunfermline for their Scottish Cup hopes, potentially, because, they managed to beat Partick Thistle and then they've got St Mirren in the Scottish Cup. That's a lot of games.
Wait, when does that? What does is the playoff final before the summer, or is it after?
What do you
It's
mean?
before. No, it's before. Yeah, that's a stupid
What
question.
do you mean?
No, just ignore me. Ignore
Right,
me.
we're ending the
Ignore me.
recording here. This
Yeah,
is the
yeah, yeah.
biggest.
That's time to pack it in this week. No, that was a stupid question. Yeah, you make a good point. That would be a lot of games for them to play before. Of course, it's going to be a really difficult game against Celtic, but one that potentially could cause an all-time Scottish Cup upset. And Celtic have obviously got their own distractions, but just the two games to play. That's been all this week from me and Alex, and we will be back on Thursday to speak about all of the Tuesdays and Wednesdays action in the Premiership. Thank you very much for listening. Go and check out us on the TikTok and the Twitter. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.